Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is your ICBA Daily News for today, Monday, November 27th, 2023. I'm going to give you the heads up today on three things. Premier Danielle Smith taking on Ottawa, the federal fiscal update, and the link between workers and housing. For links to the sources to these stories, please visit the ICBAindependent.ca. That's www.icbaindependent.ca. We can't post media links here because of the Trudeau government's foolish online news act. Well, Premier Danielle Smith, and frankly, most Albertans, and ICBA Alberta for that matter, has had quite enough of the Trudeau government's systematic attack on the Canadian oil and gas industry. She has promised to take action. On her radio show yesterday, she said, quote, "I have to tell you that I didn't want to do this. I really did. From the very first conversation I had with Justin Trudeau, I wanted to work with him on this. We put it together, the table with the negotiators, so we could find areas of common ground. But Stephen Guilbeault, that's the Minister of Environment under Justin Trudeau. Stephen Guilbeault, I don't know, he's a maverick. He doesn't seem to care about the law. He doesn't care about the Constitution. I do, and we're going to make sure we assert that." Well, great, strong comments there from Premier Smith. Apparently something is going to come out today explaining a little bit more about her plan to do this. You can bet we'll be watching, and you can also bet that the Alberta Sovereignty Within the United Canada Act will be a big part of her pushback. And she's not wrong about the constitutionality of these laws. Stephen Guilbeault has been defeated twice in court recently. The first was on Bill C-69, the so-called No Pipelines Act, which ICBA was part of the coalition with the government of Alberta fighting that law and having it thrown out because it overstepped the federal government's bounds. And then the recent plastics ruling by the federal court, which Guilbeault has appealed to the Supreme Court of Canada. But again, showing massive federal government overreach into what's the jurisdiction of the provinces. So go for it, Premier Smith. Let's take on Ottawa. Let's get a better deal for Albertans, for all Canadians, and of course for the energy industry. Okay, speaking of the Trudeau government, our chief economist, Jock, he reviewed the fiscal update released last week by Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, and he found it deeply concerning. You should read his whole piece at ICBAindependent.ca, but here are the 2 points I'm most worried about. Quote, this is Jock's quote, by the way, quote, "Compared to the fiscal outlook in the spring 2023 budget, the government is now expecting to spend another $8 billion or so every year from 2024 through 2028. This means bigger operating deficits and a larger debt than the finance minister was projecting only several months ago." And then the other thing that's of deep concern to me, and again, ICBAindependent.ca for Jock's whole analysis. Quote, "Higher spending and the mounting debt have made it harder for the Bank of Canada to get inflation back to 2%, after 3 years during which the All Items Consumer Price Index has been running well above the bank's target." We all know that. In this sense, fiscal and monetary policy in Canada have been misaligned for at least the past 18 months. The central bank has been seeking aggressively to temper demand and dampen economy-wide spending, while policymakers in Ottawa, Victoria, and other provincial capitals have been pouring money into an economy that doesn't require additional stimulus, all in pursuit of a mix of political, social, and environmental objectives, including most recently a perceived need to address the cost of living challenges facing Canadians. Again, this is that nasty cycle that goes on when government does not focus on what the end goal is. If the goal is to bring down inflation, you don't pour more money into the economy that drives up inflation. You also probably got to start holding the line on interest rates if you're the Bank of Canada, because that is now a significant driver of inflation as well, housing costs. So, we often talk about how during COVID, for example, government got aligned. They were solely focused on getting the nation through that crisis. We know this can happen, but too often different arms of government are doing different things and fighting at cross purposes and causing a bigger mess that would otherwise be needed. So read Jock's analysis. Like I like to say, ever since we brought him on, I'm about 8.6% smarter than I used to be, thanks to being able to chat with him about these issues. All right, finally, Leyne over the Times Colonist in Victoria, he dug into the link between housing and workers and found the BC NDP government is missing a plan on this important link. Quote, "The Labour Survey expects 470,000 new immigrant workers in the next decade, so 500,000 new immigrant workers in the next decade. It's when the huge number of newcomers to BC is contrasted with the housing scene that excitement ebbs. The Labour Survey suggests the home building pace has to be dramatically increased or at least sustained for years to come to make any dent in availability or affordability. Again, it's the nasty cycle government finds themselves in. We need more people to build housing and other infrastructure, but then we don't have the housing and infrastructure to serve those people, and you're in a big problem. The best thing BC NDP can do is get rid of as much red tape and regulation as possible, get fully aligned behind this need for more housing, and let's get more into the market as quickly as possible. Okay, that's it for me today. Hope you have a great week. I'll be back tomorrow, pardon me, with another ICBA news update.